Hello, everybody. You'll have to excuse the scuffed production a little bit. How's everyone doing? My name is Quintic. I am the usual producer. And wouldn't you know it, we've had a bit of a mishap where the entire regular production crew is sick or tired or just like last second stuff has come up. So you've got me tonight. You have me solo casting, running the production, so things are gonna be a little bit scuffed here and there, but that should be okay. Look, we're already on the basically the champion select screen equivalent, just because I have no single person analyst desk graphic. You know what? I've been wanting to try this for a while. Just see what happens if we just run the most fiscally conscious stream of the year. We'll call it, right? So, I hope you're all ready for a really, really exciting series. This is week 7 of the Victorious ARAM series. It is the final week of the regular season. We have Bobo Destroyers versus Challenger ARAMers. And, wouldn't you know it, these are the undefeated teams in Group B. Just notice that they're both... Alright, I can't pay attention to that graphic right now. They're both listed as 7-0 in the pre-show. That is wrong. They are both 6-0. They're both trying to become 7-0. And yeah, I mean, it's really fortunate that we're getting this matchup right at the end, kind of like at the peak of excitement for the season, right? I may as well start talking about the pools right away then, yeah? Yeah, because I mean, there's no more stakes to introduce. These are good teams, right? And if any series is going to 3 games tonight, which we've been hoping for, pretty much the entire split while in production, it's surely going to be this one, right? Fingers crossed. So, what have we got here? Game 1, Bobo Destroyers are choosing from a pool of Renata, Belveth, Seraphine, Melio, Kha'Zix, Annie, Pike, Zillion, Vladimir, Kiana, Talon, Scion, Gragas, Aatrox, and Brand. And the very, very first thing that stands out to me is that there are pretty much no conventional sources of DPS in this pool. I mean, you've got basically Aatrox's frontline DPS capabilities, right? But there's no proper marksman. There's no sustained damage mage here unless you're building Vladimir exclusively for cooldown reduction, which I'm not sure is kind of the angle we want, right? So they've got a very, very bursty pool. Very utility heavy, very bursty, pretty strong frontline presence. You've got Scion supported by Renata. You've got Gragas as an option here. You can kind of build the support tank Belveth if that's what you want to use as your frontline, but I mean, she's also kind of your sole source of magic damage, right? Marksman Renata, is that kind of where we're forced into? I hope not. That's a scuffed angle. But then let's check the durability of Challenger ARAMers pool, right? They're choosing between Fiddlesticks, Darius, Neela, Diana, Kled, Lulu, Talia, Uxun, Vayne, Morgana, Jarvan, Evelyn, Karthus, Heimerdinger, and Renekton. So immediately more marksman options, right? Vayne is on the table, Uxun's on the table, although personally I would lean towards the Vayne here, unless actually, I'm thinking just from a team fight perspective, right? But then we have the Uxun, who, if the meta of the tournament so far has just been as much tempo as possible, revives actually have really significant value there too, right? In terms of durability, like you can pretty easily get Diana into a durable direction after her first item. You could even choose, like, because it's ARAM, to just invest into durability very early. I mean, but why would you bother? There's a Jarvan in pool, there's a Renekton in pool. There's a lot of Wombo potential. So yeah, where are we expecting these teams to go, right? If Challenger ARAMers are capable of absorbing the Bobo Destroyer's burst, right? Like if they go into kind of like a... I like it's the Vladimir and the Annie who are standing out to me. Brand. Then you can't really eat the Annie or the Brand damage if one of those mages are going towards like a Leandry's sustained damage angle, right? Yeah, because the Brand is going to inherently shred the Jarvan. Yeah, okay, so this is what I like to do, usually. This is kind of what I was hoping to see from some of our top teams in the tournament, right? Factoring in what the enemy's pools are, rather than just defaulting to comfort. Because, I think there's a lot of strategic value in the format that teams still have yet to tap into, at least in terms of the games we've seen on stream so far, right? I mean, it should be pretty easy to just, for Challenger ARAMers to just kind of go in like a Jarvan Fiddle direction, right? Have Kled, get your backline in there, something along those lines. Karthus supplements, Vayne physical damage, Akshan physical damage, like... Because if Bobo Destroyers responds in turn with like a Wombo of their own, then who plays cleanup in that composition? Tibbers. Right? Yeah, so I mean, I guess we'll see. We're still waiting on teams to just get in here right now. I'm waiting for an invite to the lobby. We did have the game postponed to a projected 8:15 start. Just because one of the players reached out to tournament officials and said, hey, like, we're having some serious unexpected internet issues, and then obviously they were granted that delay, right? But now, I mean, clock is now ticking, right? So we're just going to have to wait to see what happens. I will stall for as long as I can. We can talk strategy. We can talk about our days, right? I mean, this is like basically not a professional broadcast at this point. What would I do here? Yeah, I mean, when the tournament started, I was really expecting, just you want to draft towards a team fight composition, and you want to draft, or alternatively, you want to draft like a siege comp, right? Because you can't out macro anybody on ARAM. There's no concept of out macroing people, and with access to wider pools, it would be easier to build a proper wombo composition, with combo, with cleanup, and the counterplay of out macroing them like doesn't exist here, right? The only counterplay available at that point is have enough durability to survive the wombo. So those are kinds of like the directions I was expecting the meta to go into, right? Front to back wombo siege, but the more I look at these pools, too, the more I, like, actually reconsider the Akshan there, the more I've seen champions like Pyke really pop off, like, just champions who are not conventional team fighters. They're more aggro strategies, right? The more I've seen teams, like, really, really, really like to contest those first few bushes at the beginning of the game, I don't know, it's become kind of apparent that there are more ways to play the map than just into those 3 or 4 different archetypes, right? And it's kind of changing the way I'm viewing some of these assassin picks. Because if you're splashing like one assassin pick who wants to play tempo into a comp that has like, a bunch of wave clear, and like your entire strategy is just like lose 3 or 4 people on tower dives like repeatedly, trade 3 for 3, 4 for 4 over and over and over again, and you're spending your gold, they're spending your gold, but you always have the waves, you always have some tempo cheat, like... Is that actually the best way to play here, right? So yeah, I mean, just thoughts. A stream of consciousness, just looking at the action presenting itself. Good news, everybody. We are now in the lobby. Teams are getting themselves ready. We're just waiting for about 2 more players on the side of Bobo Destroyers. And then all should be good, and I'll be able to kind of... all will be revealed. We'll know what Bobo Destroyers are doing with their kind of unusual pool. Like, whether they're... I mean, they're pretty much obligated to go into Deathball, but, like, what flavor of Deathball are they going to take, right? And how are Challenger ARAMers going to respond to that? I don't really want to go to a break right now, because what's going to happen when I go to a break is I'm going to play music for about like a minute, and then all of a sudden teams are going to be back. We're going to have to come back, talk about what they picked, go to another break, like, just really, really awkward flow, so. Oh, hang on. No, the teams, I was trying to figure out, like, which players are like flaming which other players, because I mean they're bantering within their teams, right? Flaming teammates who are showing up late. That's the report from the sidelines, right? I wonder what champion like one part of the strategy that's like I wonder how much teams are actually paying attention to the Howling Abyss specific buffs and nerfs, right? Because I know the casters have talked about this a few times, like the regular casters. Just pulling up something on the side. I'm trying to pull up a list of like all buffs and nerfs, right? I wonder if there's actually a list. Howling Abyss balance changes. Is this real? Because in general, right, they're giving like certain duelists really inflated damage. Excuse me, duelists really inflated damage, right? Like if I remember correctly, Akali had some pretty absurd buffs on this map. I guess you do just have to go to every individual champion's page, which means the research project or the research process for this format is actually such a pain, right? Gosh, I do not envy like any of the scouts if any of these teams are taking it seriously enough to have scouts. Okay, with luck, we will be in Champion Select within about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that. Yeah, and here's the benefit of the solo cast, right? We've got chat interaction. That is Quintic. That is me stalling for as much time as possible, just waiting until I have to do all the back-end production work during the next break. But yeah, actually, let's hear from the viewers then. So, if like let's put on our thinking caps. What are you guys expecting to see from Bobo Destroyers? What are you guys expecting to see from Challenger ARAMers? Because I've said my piece. And in the meantime, while we're trying to figure that out, while we are strategizing a little bit, I am going to pull up everybody's OPGGs and see if maybe we can kind of gain some insight as to how these teams are going to approach the game based on how they approach Summoner's Rifts. If I can get into the match history too, yeah, we're in full scouting mode, guys. We're in full scouting mode. So in their last series, we didn't see Bobo Destroyers and we didn't see Cram. We haven't seen them for a while, actually. Bobo, Bobo have been running some pretty extreme scaling comps featuring one tempo champion. There's a Pike here next to Aurelion Sol, Syndra, Zeri, Tahm Kench. There is a Lucian, Xerath. There's a Gangplank Xerath core in this one using Pantheon as a pseudo frontliner alongside Braum. So at least in that series, in their Week 6 series, Bobo Destroyers were pretty consistent about scaling +1 aggro champion, right? Do they have that option this week? They have, of course, Seraphine plus Brand. Physical damage. I mean, Aatrox is pretty much a must if you're trying to deal with damage spread concerns because Jarvan can itemize against that. You know, Easy Gore Maw, something like that, right? I'm just going to type a prod R into here. Going back one more week, we have Challenger ARAMers from week 5 in their 2-0 series against Akuma. And they were running a pretty damage-oriented Hecarim build with Blitzcrank as a primary frontliner. Renata to cover, right? Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the chat. They're saying, guys, come on, get an LCS order. This is serious business. Cram ran a Zac, Aatrox, Karma, Renekton, Vladimir comp. And let's just see what options they had in that week. That was against Akuma. In that week, they had Rumble, Rise, Ornn, Echo, Warwick. Yeah, so they had a very similar problem that Bobo destroyers are experiencing now, where there basically is no consistent backline DPS. There are no DPS mages. There are no marksmen. There are no champions who can substitute for a DPS mage or a marksman. Excepting Aurelion Sol, who's just kind of off theme with what the rest of their options were, which were generally forward-moving tanks. So yeah, it looks like the winning strategy for these teams when you're given pools like this have been to just throw caution to the wind, smork them, get in their face. I'm just concerned about doing that into the option of Fiddlesticks, right? The option of Fiddlesticks Lulu. Even Morgana could be like decent here, although relative to Karthus and to Neela and to all of these other options, probably not the one I would go for, right? Because Morgana's not providing like excessive utility. She's not saving more than one person from a Seraphine ultimate, from a Renata ultimate. She's not saving anybody from a Gragas ultimate. She's at best answering like Kiana River Q. So drafting Morgana is kind of like just calling out that they're going Kiana, which, I've not actually done the scouting on players. They could go for something like that. We are now waiting on one player still. Now, I'm just gonna have to pull up the rule book for a second here. Oh, never mind. We're good. 5 players on one side, 5 players on the other. Guys, we might be in for a game. We might be good. And we're here. Okay, so let's actually see what direction they're going now. So, Renekton being hovered on the side of Challenger ARAMers. Sure enough, Pyke is showing. Ooh, this is not exactly the direction I expected, but it is kind of in line with the way we've been talking about playing tempo, right? Yeah, so I was expecting Bobo Destroyers to go into like as hard a wombo as possible, right? Probably with their pools, like a double magic sort of thing, plus one of their orthodox bruisers, likely Aatrox, but also possibly Belveth or possibly Gragas with damage spread concerns, but instead, they're actually considering a triple assassin core. They're actually hovering Kha'Zix, Pyke, and Kiana. Now, they are going for the double magic thing, right? Like, Brand is locked in right now. Seraphine is locked in. Kiana is locked in. Over on the side of Challenger ARAMers, they have opted away from the Fiddlesticks. They are considering the Akshan right now, just being a really, really good tempo champion, right? They have locked in Renekton, Heimerdinger, and Lulu so far. Lulu is a champion that we definitely were not talking about too much. So yeah, with Akshan in play, there's no real need to be going into a Vayne direction. So yeah, sure enough, the final compositions, Bobo Destroyers have locked in the triple assassin. They are running Seraphine, Brand, Kiana, Kha'Zix, and Pyke. And meanwhile, Challenger ARAMers are running Akshan, Lulu, Karthus, Renekton, and Heimerdinger. Now that does, but Challenger ARAMers still have ended up with like a very good counter engage composition. Like trying to engage into Renekton is definitely a pain. Like into Karthus, into Heimerdinger, into Lulu. All of these champions are very solid, and Akshan as your primary marksman in the context of ARAM is actually, he's your AD carry, but without the constraints of laning bot lane. So, yeah, I do like what they put together. It's generally in line with what we've been talking about, but it is very, very, very reactive. It is more reactive than if they had gone in a direction that included Jarvan, a direction that had included Kled. But it does match up well into what Bobo Destroyers are trying to do here, right? Like, they are going to be forced to push forwards. I'm expecting them to build at least either Kiana or Kha'Zix, if not both, more in the bruiser direction. Unless they know something I don't, and it's actually better to just overwhelm with permatrading, right? So, I mean, that's what I have to say. That's what we have seen. So, without further ado, guys, I'm going to go to a quick break so I can set things up. And when we get back, we will be into the action of game number 1 of our final week of the regular season. Don't go anywhere. All right, everybody, we are getting into game number 1 just about now. So let's see who's kind of going for the Guardians items, who is not. You know, obviously they're going to fight over the middle bush. They're never not going to fight over the middle bush. We've seen this every single game, so. Although this one's noticeably more reserved than usual, so it's kind of nice. But anyway, while this is happening, we have 2 Guardians items on the side of Bobo Destroyers and 2 on the side of Challenger ARAMers. So, first blood for Bobo. I'm just going to kind of let this play out while we are talking about the initial phases of the game. So yeah, it looks like anyone who's not going a Guardians item is sacrificing like raw early stats for the sake of earlier mythics, right? For a weaker mythic passive spike in exchange for just being able to fight more effectively, like immediately on first death. You know, if you're expecting like a really fast-paced game, which, you know, so far it is. With So Preach dying twice already on the card this year. Now, I have seen some really, really, like, egregious things from Karthus on ARAM, to be clear. Like, Karthus is who just, like, keep running in and dying over and over and over again, so the death count does not matter. They're just repeatedly accumulating damage on the enemy and, like, kind of playing exclusively for wave prio, right? But that's clearly not what's happening right now. Like, as Cram are not successfully gaining any pressure off of their Karthus deaths, and how can they with this range disadvantage from the Seraphine, right? You know, every champion is so reactive in the early game. So we on the first solo cast of the season have probably the slowest game that I've seen so far, where that, come to think of it, makes sense. That makes a lot of sense when you're kind of looking at what may be the two best teams in the league, the teams who may actually encounter each other in grand finals, right? Because if what's important is just the timings on which you die, what's important is, like, how much pressure over time you're able to exert, then you don't want to be fist fighting and just stacking up gold if it's not actually progressing the game forwards for you, right? Now, T-Tizzle tries to find something with the mark, does die immediately without follow-up available, so kind of implies that Challenger ARAMers are feeling the pressure here. They are not really seeing any major level 6 spikes that are better than what Bobo Destroyers have. We'll have to see if these kind of unforced errors continue, right? Bobo Destroyers accumulating chip damage are falling back to the health relic here. And, yeah, the poke war clearly going in one direction, right? I'm really excited to get the chance to just watch this, because usually I'm, like, so deep in production duty that I don't actually get to watch the first few minutes of the games. So Torchwick just keeps repeatedly fishing with Bone Skewer here. You know, when you are maintaining the push, when you have the wave clear advantage, it seems like any damage is good damage, right? Any kill is a good kill. So Bobo Destroyer is like, oh, they're collectively freezing the wave. I love it. T-Tiz away out of position, no able to follow up. The Seraphine ultimate comes through onto 2. Torchwick starts resetting. We do have Heimerdinger under pressure from the Kion in the back end. 3 people stunned. Rand's damage not tearing through the entire team right away. Come up Inspires, hits just minions here. T-Tizzle trying to get more healing off the Empowered Q, but gets exhausted right away. The follow-up is delayed, but there is more. 2 kills for Challenger ARAMers. Karthus ult turns a third around. Health bar is very, very low. Tempo advantage seems to be in favor of Challenger ARAMers here, actually. So yeah, a first fight, especially with the action cleanup here, immediately turned around and, you know, ways going a certain way, but Challenger ARAMers do make the most of a bad situation that they were in, right? It was a fight that looked very, 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 very favorable at the start for Bobo Destroyers with their freeze, with their earlier control, and yes, just very good performance overall, right? So we've got a neutral wave, we've got pretty neutral health bars, and it looks like we are about to, well, especially if Coldman's going to get hooked here, yeah, it looks like we are about to return to kind of the slow Bobo Destroyers advantage that we have been watching, but you know, at the very least, the gold is quite a lot more competitive than it would have been had we not seen that fight. Kitten Claws walking up, getting caught by the Kiana River Q. T-Tizzle trades one back. Karthus just trying to, like, trade his HP away a little bit. Oh, I love this action swing. Trading 1 for 1, 2 for 2. A kill here, a kill there. It's ARAM. It's going to be a bloody game no matter what. And about a 2,000 gold advantage for Bobo Destroyers. Where is that right now? Look, they're always fighting. We're always going to have a moment to just check in, regardless of what's going on, right? The richest person in the game is Pico by a significant margin. Is sitting on completed Duskblade. Whereas, yeah, there's a completed Death Squid, there's a completed Moonstone, there's a completed Axiom Arc for Pike, who always wants to be online. And, you know, excluding Lulu's Imperial Mandates, presumably with a Q... Is that a Q-Max then? No, so it's a mandate without Q-Max. It is Lulu trying her hardest to contribute in terms of raw damage rather than repositioning in the fight or anything like that. I guess we have some action that we need to get into, right? Lube Tech, is he getting a resurrection? No. High Legacy survives on just a sliver of health. Colden going forwards. A great flash ultimate from Mateles as Bobo Destroyers are cleaning up here, but T-Tizzle, highest health bar by far using the Hex Gate, marks onto the brand. In the back end, Pico is trading onto the Lulu, giving the gold back to her, probably the best recipient for Bobo Destroyers to lose the gold to. And T-Tizzle is 1v2 in the back line, not able to convert anything more. No! Going down. And the gold advantage is staying stable, but the tempo is starting to swing for Cram with that revive. Let's see what they can do with it, right? Health bars are good. 15 seconds on Seraphine. Very, very minute advantage. Going to be very difficult with the champions available for Challenger ARAMers to actually close that momentary advantage into something. But Akshan's primary spike is online. The Kraken Slayer is here. Karthus' primary spike is online with the Yandries, but... Now, we were discussing at the beginning of the game whether Bobo Destroyers were going to go into a more bruiser direction on their assassins, right? Whether they were trying to play orthodox teamfight or whether they were just trying to dirty the game a bit and, like, trade kills. And it is definitely the trade kills direction with a full proper assassin build on all three of their assassins, really, right? There is no front line. There is just Seraphine, and honestly, so far it's been enough. I mean, if Kiana's the richest person in the game, and if Pike is continually resetting, and if Challenger ARAMers are struggling to just break through the 5-threat composition because Lulu cannot protect everybody at once, then the approach is working for them. Of course, Kha'Zix is on W Evo. We're just going to kind of check some skill orders here, see how normal they are and how abnormal, if anyone's got some spicy ARAM adaptations. Lube Tech caught out the corner of my eye. And with the tower damage advantage, if Challenger ARAMers keep getting picked, like, they are going to be at a severe, severe tempo deficit soon. You know, this is really make or break while that first turret is still standing. If there's going to be a fight, it has to be now on Akshan's respawn, or else... Yeah, but Bobo are not giving them the opportunity. They're playing for the health relics. They are resetting the wave to neutral. They are most likely going to generate that full team freeze again, right? Because how does Challenger ARAMers break through that bush control? Well, the answer is they kind of don't. The first execute on the Soap Reach right away. The Karthus ultimate is coming through. There's a revive. Immediately, he will be back in the fight. Akshan and Renekton swinging in. The Kiana ultimate only catches one. Low health bars as a whole, but Renekton will fall. Pico can't really contribute here, high legacy, and actually, despite the fact that there are more kills for Bobo, Challenger ARAMers are certainly the ones advantaged right now. Without those ultimates, how are they? Sobridge flashes in, that gets 2, there's a Wild Growth, gets 3, Akshan getting the revive once more. Challenger ARAMers swing this game in a big, big way. I actually really like the Sphere Shojin Rush on Renekton, right? It's very unorthodox for Summoner's Rift standards, but it basically turns Renekton into their repeat initiator. Right, just trying to optimize haste on the E. Kitten Claws unable to execute, actually kind of a big deal, so Tortwig is going to turn around with a reset, but if Lube Tech gets the kill, will not. 2 Pike executes. Big gold injection for Bobo. 3 Pike executes. Now, of course, Challenger ARAMers did have to die to close out their advantage, and hopefully with the tempo, yeah, it's just going to go, like, both teams down a turret here, most likely. Because Challenger ARAMers died after their wave was taken out, which is actually a really big deal. They would have had to execute much faster if they wanted a safe recall, right? So momentary swing, the Pike reset is now extending the lead to about 3,000 gold. The Bobo Destroyers fighting once again. It is a momentary 3v3. XRM 0 very low on the Kha'Zix. Come up, it's most likely blocked by the full HP Seraphine. Kind of a shame, but good luck. That Axiom Arc is putting in so much work for Fortnite. The Seraphine ult comes out, catches the Karthus once more. It's a shutdown, 9th death for the Lich. And with 20 seconds left on that death timer, with the potential revives all concentrated onto one champion, there is one thing that Challenger ARAMers could do. But the grappling hook goes wide. Akshan is being pressured here. The shield is not going to let Pike through. No execute coming through. Big resets here. Challenger ARAMers are turning the fight around. Low health bars. Renekton goes in with the mark, and Kiana is closed out. Ace for Challenger ARAMers. Doing my best to keep track of it all, but... Excuse my audio here. I'll just try to mute that quickly. Okay. So we're coming back to a small kerfuffle underneath the Bobo Destroyer's tier 2 turrets, which is just trading kills, and you know, it's one of those fights that's, with the position of the wave, probably going to have low impact here. Pike flashing forward to close up the Lulu, although absolutely everybody dies, the impact might be greater than we had hoped, right? Akshan not able to grab the hook away. The final Lulu shield cannot turn anything here. No, but again, 2 seconds until Karthus, 9 seconds until Renekton. If they're able to stay alive, this wave should get stifled. So, assuming Karthus is going to die pretty quickly, let's just take inventory of the current game state now. The Bobo Destroyer's lead has extended to about 4,000. We do have a Rylai's completed. We have almost 3 items on Kiana. Certainly enough in pocket to buy something pretty major, right? Not quite the 3rd item spike. Kha'Zix sitting with a Serpent's Fang as their poke, right? Going to try to reduce the impact of Lulu. Heimerdinger's on 2 items. Renekton is noticeably weak as the champion with lowest farm priority, or second to lowest farm priority. They are... Yeah, where is the farm going here? Interestingly enough, it is going primarily to Kha'Zix on the side of Bobo Destroyers, which actually does make sense to have Kha'Zix and Kiana as the highest priority, because even though Brand and Seraphine have the best wave clear, they're both champions that do function better than the others on lower income, right? And Pike is just organically going to... We have to hold that point for a second. We have 2 kills on traded right away. Karthus trying to get deeper, is out of mobility here. You know, I don't envy the usual ARAM casters. It is very, very difficult to make a point and then pivot to play-by-play, right? Loop Tech lurking in the wings here. Seraphine executed. Going to swing off of the central platform here. And no, not going to close out Brand. Is saved by the Lulu shield, but ticking down barely. Loop Tech in a dangerous position. Is Karthus going to be able to close the kill on Brand? Yes! And Kha'Zix taken very low, but Challenger ARAMers are going to really, really struggle to actually close anything here. And Pike is resetting, only finding the 1 kill here, going to get taken away, taken out pretty quickly with the Maw of Malmortius going to survive longer than expected. Kiana jumping in. Is there cleanup here? Renekton available. Mark doesn't land. 3-man ultimate here. Takes down 1, takes down 2, and Kiana eventually falls, which does solve the problem of Challenger ARAMers of needing to find a safe reset. Well, there you go. It's just a fight that, all things considered, given their condition, goes better than you could have hoped for, right? Now, is Renekton going to take out the relics? Yes, he is. And that gives me the opportunity to talk about farm distribution once again. So we've been over what Bobo is doing in terms of farm. Now, who is the priority farmer on the side of Challenger ARAMers? It appears to be Akshan, followed by Karthus, with Heimerdinger on priority 3, and that distribution also checks out, right? The highest econ champions are getting the most farm. Heimerdinger, functional as a support, functional with a bunch of utility items, and primarily playing counter engage, is just scrounging together a little bit of farm here and there, and that's valid. And then they are finding some unorthodox itemization to make the Renekton as impactful as possible, like as a primary frontliner. And yet it's Lulu, 4 CS. But a million kill participation, as enchanters do, who, with her dirt cheap items, just, who has by far the most item completions. It's kind of funny. Okay, Karthus engaged onto. There's a big Seraphine ultimate hitting 4! But the conversion is not quite there. A Brand ultimate bounces around, gets one passive proc. Comeuppance going to be a weak fire here, just hitting Seraphine, and all things considered, kind of a low-impact fight. Bobo Destroyer is temporarily worse for wear, but not for long, with Seraphine on their side. Uxin swinging around long does not get a good grappling hook. Renekton trying to find initiation here. The ultimates, Supreme Display of Talent still available for Bobo Destroyers. They are going to find one, but it's traded back right away. They are not able to convert this into much more damage on the turret. Uxin is looking for more, going to find Pike in stealth. Going to not get hooked right here, so he's going to cancel the E. Where are we going? So with Renekton low, does have Dominus available. I was kind of expecting a little more of a defense with the respawning Karthus here, but there is some more chip damage. Uxin getting caught, not executed by the Pike. Karthus in the middle of everything, just accumulating damage here. There is a shield onto him. He's putting in so much work. Ultimate comes through, will take out Kha'Zix most likely. No, Seraphine, no! But the Q at the last second, at the 11th hour. Seraphine unable to save Kha'Zix here. And fortunately, the only champions on Bobo Destroyers who are like really in poor condition are, it's just Lulu. Renekton can still contribute from this point. So as long as they can get in here before Seraphine undoes all the work they've put in, there should be something, but no! Renekton is caught, but does not die. They're trying to turn something around onto Tortwig. Colden trying to put out as much damage as possible, using Renekton as bait, the effective frontliner. Maybe a little too far forward given that bush control. What is happening here? Pico pushing forwards, going to burn Lulu's stopwatch. The Seraphine ultimate comes through on only one, but Colden has another stopwatch on top of that. Going to get closed up by the Kiana at the end. Health relics available. Bobo Destroyers, if they choose to, could walk back and restabilize. And this is looking like a difficult sequence for Challenger ARAMers. Unless Kha'Zix goes in off tempo, doesn't matter because the Uxin is found out of position by Pike. Flash forward for the slow. Hook does land onto Lulu. Karthus stands alone. Renekton hexcating in. And the health is undone. Bobo Destroyers look ready to take this inhibitor, which spells disaster for Challenger ARAMers. Pico does find a good death. Can Renekton do anything here? They can't get too distracted by him. Now that the turret's gone, there's like not really any pressure. Keep desyncing the deaths. Bobo Destroyers are way out of sync. Some of these respawning in 7 and 14 and 29. Colden solo defending, but caught out of position. Comeuppance is the only tool they really have to do anything about all of this until Karthus is back, but he's may choose to hexgate in, just die. But it's too late. Bobo Destroyers claim the inhibitor. The Seraphine ultimate does whiff. If Karthus wants to die, this is a decent opportunity. But the Bobo Destroyers actually want more. They're pushing for more turrets. Going to die, like, extremely pushed out, which, again, all things considered, is a good death. But now how far can Bobo Destroyers actually push this? I may have said it's a good death, I may have spoken too soon, because if we see the position of the wave, it was not directly under turret when everybody died, right? They did not die early enough to actually lose nothing. Seeing Pico trying to make a solo defense now, but without access to Bush Q from this position, not going to be able to stall anything, going to get taken out right away. And Challenger ARAMers are able to proxy the wave and take out a tier 2 turret. So really good coordination in terms of, you know, the macro of ARAM, if you want to call it that. And they're actually pushing for more. They're trying to punish the Kiana Death Timer. They're trying to just send it with Karthus in there. Take out whatever champions they can, but I mean, Uxin swinging around, they're kind of out of sync at this point. United in macro, but dissonant in micro. Cranlu's too. Tortwig flashes forward right away, is going to find a hook onto Kissing Claws. Resets, not here just yet. There is no Pike ultimate on cooldown with us E forwards, another hook. Potent wave clear from Bobo Destroyers, backing this up. Very tense stuff here. Now, fortunately for Challenger ARAMers, this should not spell the end of the game. Bobo Destroyers do not have the wave clear on deck right away. You'll actually notice Seraphine and Brand, their farm numbers are progressively increasing as Kiana and Kha'Zix are efficiently online, and they're more playing for wave clear. Trying to see what's going on down here. Kiana ultimates does not find very much. Tortwig dead very quickly. Patelis is very far forwards. The ultimates they're waiting for them. Lubtech trying to find a reset, not going to find anything. And the fight in the blink of an eye is over. with heavy casualties on both sides. 7,000 gold advantage for Bobo Destroyers, but very poor condition disadvantage. That said, with tempo, if Brand and Kha'Zix can either survive or heal up, or just find a really, really efficient death, like sneaking through the bushes behind them, it would be decent. So they're actually going to, for sure, try to survive here, try to defend. And Seraphine should help them out. They're claiming 3 health relics. So what are Challenger ARAMers looking for? They are pretty much looking entirely... I mean, it's hard to receive an engage like this, right? When the engage just chunks one of your champions out, like, beyond usefulness. When you don't really have a front line beyond the Jackshow Renekton, who, frankly, can be somewhat ignored, right? He's only threatening a single point and click W. And there are too many threats on the side of Bobo, right? So, Challenger ARAMers, difficult to play defense, and as I say, we need to look for a Karthus engage. They find technically a Karthus engage, I guess. You know, off the back of a Torchwig hook, and it is simply Karthus 1-0. Torchwig continuing to fish. The ultimate used by Colden just for some minor chip damage on the Rockets. That's an important cooldown for playing defense here. No engage, no turrets, just damage. This could be Bobo Destroyer's opportunity, but it could also be Challenger ARAMers, like, last stand. Are they able to fend them off? Are the mages able to exert too much pressure? Seraphine and Brand. Are they able to close out on this turret? Now, I really, really, really like how Challenger ARAMers are pulling the wave away and trying to convince the turret to go there. There's an engage here with Wild Growth. It's not under Renekton. Renekton buying a lot of time in the back end, but the damage follow-up is simply not there. Sophrich is here stalling the inhibitor respawn, but dying right away. The condition is poor. This is going to take at most 1, maybe 2. Nobody. 0 falls in the back end, but with the distraction, should buy Bobo enough time to retake the inhibitor. And, like, absolute worst case scenario, they lose, like, 1, 2 more. Torchwig is going to go for an execute. Whiff's going to fall for it. Akshan gets revive. That is Karthus back on the map. But, critically, their survivor is Seraphine. So, you know, these health bars are not, despite the nerfed ARAM healing, with this much access to health relics, with this much access to additional healing, Bobo Destroyer should pretty much just be ready to refight immediately. Pyke is sitting on a Gargoyle Stoneplate. Like, Pyke is acting as the primary playmaker of this team, and he is going to become more and more and more obnoxious here, right? Kiana's just about as strong as she's ever going to be. Kha'Zix is as strong as he's going to be, right? Seraphine on full build as well. And the only really equivalent spike on the side of Challenger ARAMers is the Karthus, which is a valuable spike, but, you know, critically not likely to be enough from this position. So let's just see how they approach this, right? Torchwig, same place as before, just looking for the hook. The Seraphine ult does only hit 1. That is important. Renekton is eating absolutely everything. Sophrich is forward. The Karthus dies. Another ult W from the Heimerdinger. Is the damage enough? Karthus takes 2 comeuppance here, but Torchwig blocks. Very good Phantom Undertow from him. It is 3 versus 3 at the moment. 2 mages plus a Pyke versus Akshan, Heimerdinger, and Lulu. And if Pyke just finds 1 of anything, the turret placed to block. All the wave clear in the world for Bobo. It's looking very, very, very frightening here. Now, the one advantage that Challenger ARAMers do have here is respawn tempo. So, Bobo Destroyer shouldn't be able to push for very much more unless, you know, Torchwig is just going to spontaneously find a Heimerdinger. We are regrouping. Everybody on Bobo Destroyers is here. Everybody on Challenger ARAMers is here. This is it. This is most likely the final team fight. If Bobo wins this, they are taking it home. They are winning game 1 of the series. If Challenger ARAMers win it, they hold on for another moment. They may have to play 2 more sequences. Gold advantage staying stable at around 7,000. Wave clear advantage still here. What are Challenger ARAMers supposed to do in this position? Kha'Zix's looking for the poke. Renekton tries to go in here. It is a one-man Seraphine. Ultimate Comeuppance does nothing. First reset on Karthus. Karthus Requiem comes out trying to hit more, but the stopwatches, the spell shields, there's just too much resistance to the Requiem. Renekton's trying to find much more, but he does no damage, and there's no follow-up. Lulu down. Akshan down. The assassins find their marks as T-Tizzle is trying to turn anything he can, but again, he is a frontliner. There's nothing here. And Colden doesn't have any support for this, so he's going to go down. Going to stopwatch, and that is the end. Bobo Destroyers go up in the series 1-0. Very exciting ending. So, let me just go back to this back end here, everybody. We are going to prepare game number 2. Can't stay in chat to analyze that too much because, I mean, we have a lot of production work to do to set that up. So, but don't go anywhere. These are, again, the top 2 teams in the division. Are Challenger ARAMers going to be able to turn this around in game 2 and give us a 3-game series? Or are Bobo Destroyers just going to close out first seed? Don't go anywhere. so let's jump back into game number 2 of the VAS regular season, week 7. We're here. Where Bobo Destroyers are up 1-0 in our best of 3. We have our pools here. And let's just take a moment before we actually start champ selects to kind of see what everybody has. So Challenger ARAMers are now on blue side, Bobo Destroyers are now on red, right? And Challenger ARAMers have a lot of known nuisance champions in ARAM, right? I mean, Ezreal's on the table. Ezreal, Maokai, Zyra, Sona Soraka. There's a Swain in play. There's a Sivir in play. There's a Lissandra in play as a pseudo tank, right? I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer non-interaction poke angle for me. Like, I would be genuinely surprised if they went remotely in the direction of this Fizz or this Viego or something, despite the fact that we have seen how much like aggressive tempo can make a difference. You can't really get more tempo than perma wave clear, perma harass plus sustain, right? So I am like fully expecting to see like Sivir is almost a no-brainer here, right? Sivir, Maokai, like bare minimum. So then what do Bobo Destroyers have on the table to deal with this? Well, they've got a Jinx, which is... they've got Jinx and Karthus together, which I'm expecting to be a monstrous combination. Especially, you know, Pyke is on the table once again. They've actually found both Karthus and Pyke again in these pools. Supplemented by a Cassante, supplemented by a Poppy, you know. And supplemented by Shen, right? I'm expecting, I mean, like, I'm not looking at the Yorick, even though we have, like, a Mage Yorick on the table. Like, Bobo Destroyers are not starved for options here, right? So, like, is Nefiri likely to come out? Probably not, even though she could answer the sustain pretty well. We have Pyke as a better option, right? At least that's what I am thinking. I do not have much more time to go deeper than that in terms of like how I would strategize for this, even though I really wish to, because I do feel like that is pretty surface level. So let's just see what everybody chooses to do rather than blindly speculating, shall we? So we are now in Champ Select, and unfortunately we still don't have like the perfect graphics for this. Sivir is, in fact, being hovered by Challenger ARAMers. No surprises there. Kale is on the tail. Kale is not something that we talked about, actually. We were looking, like, too much in kind of a poke direction, but it looks like Bobo Destroyers are going more in the direction of just, like, full non-interactive scaling, like, to the point that they don't even care about hitting their opponents until, like, 20 minutes into this game, right? Meanwhile... yeah, Bobo Destroyers are considering much of the... They have locked in both the Karthus and the Jinx core that we talked about. They have supplemented it with Ivern. They are considering the Cassante, but they are right now hovering Zed rather than the Pyke, which is a small surprise to me. So it must be player proficiency, right? It must just be that they feel if they've got Cassante with Mark on the table, then they don't actually need to be worried about having their assassin just make plays. And so they think they can push the tempo into whatever Challenger ARAMers is going to bring to the table, like if that's going to be their hard scaling direction, right? So Challenger ARAMers have locked in their final comp. It is Thresh, Sona, Sivir, Kale, and Lissandra. So they have left Ezreal, they have left Maokai, they have left Zyra. They do not value poke, as we can clearly see. And meanwhile, Bobo Destroyers have confirmed Cassante, Karthus, Ivern, Jinx, and Zed. Now, I will take just a moment here to assess Zed's changes on ARAM in particular to see where he has landed, what sort of damage buffs he's been given. He deals exactly normal damage, takes a little less damage, but his energy regen and tenacity are up like heavily increased. So, you know, it's not like blocking Zed over the Pyke is going to create overwhelmingly more damage, even though Zed as a champion does outdamage Pyke. If we're just looking at like damage output rather than the actual execute too. Yeah, just player proficiency sort of things. What else? What else is like really noteworthy here then? I mean, I love to be Thresh on Challenger ARAMers comp, right? I mean, The peel is solid. It supports the Lissandra very well. I'm very, very curious to see if Lissandra is going for like a Zhonya's rush into heavy durability direction, because the champion does arguably have enough utility to play that style on Summoner's Rift right now, which means she almost certainly has enough utility to play that style on ARAM, right? Where, yeah, I mean, other than Maokai, she is the best frontliner. Singed is here, but he's not AoE, right? Okay, cool. So with that, we are going to go to another very, very short break, just so I can configure stuff behind the scenes during the spectator delay. And when we come back, we will be in the beginning of game number 2. Is this the end of the regular season, or do we finally get our third game? Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Is what I would like to say if I correctly prepared the load-in screen. Okay. And we are back. Welcome everybody to game number 2. Are we getting the usual chaos, or are these teams a bit more reserved like they were last game? I'm kind of hoping for, you know, a bit of slower push control, where the team should hopefully kind of intuitively know, like, who has early presence. I don't. I'm not gonna try to analyze that part. There's a lot of, like, funny phantom true damage numbers on the screen this patch, but hey, that's better than 1319 and 1320 where the replays crash every 30 seconds, so I'll take true damage. It's just, it's an indirect teaser for Heartsteel. Tortwig gets hooked. This is a weaker start for Bobo Destroyers, although the damage is traded back onto Lube Tech. And it is health on Playmaker for health on Playmaker. That is... Funnily enough, it's weird kind of looking at Zed in this position, but it's almost support for support. Like, yeah. So it is Bobo Destroyers this time who are getting the, well, just like last game actually, they are getting the early push. Which makes sense when you are staring down the face of a Kale, Sivir, Zona composition. There's double exhaust on the side of Challenger ARAMers, which, you know, in the ARAM community, we call cringe. Fortunately for them, I love cringe. I think cringe is awesome. So honestly, good on them. And, you know, there's also an ARAM on the side of, or an exhaust on the side of Bobo, taken by High Legacy. Kind of funny, actually, like, almost implying it's optimal to have an exhaust around here if, like, the most dominant teams are finding success with it consistently. Right? Exhausts and marks and the odd barrier. I really enjoy barrier on my carries in ARAM. I think it has a lot of high value. Right? We have Cassante going in, XRM0 channeling the Pathmaker, going to make make some paths, I guess. That's a call-out. But ultimately chunking a lot of people. Metellus is not able to finish off, but Tortwig is. Jinx in very poor condition, but so is the entirety of Challenger ARAMers. Although the Thresh Hook is turning a little around. Pico trying to die here. Going to trade some damage back onto Sona. The wave is going in. And we are back to looking for picks. We are back to waiting for these health relics. There is a far relic for both teams available. T-Tizzle going to mark in, but only going to find the Cassante, supported by an Ivern. So, teams resets. We have a moment of quiet. We are trying to fix our condition a little bit. And no major advantage for either team. But Bobo Destroyers, they have to be the beatdown this game. They have to maintain permanent tempo. They have to keep looking. They have to use their Karthus to his fullest potential, and they have to die very strategically with him. Otherwise, the gold injection into these scaling champions is going to slowly become a problem, especially with Sivir, who just, you know, you pretty much have to win the game via combat with Sivir in play. But T-Tizzle's finding an engage. Pico flashes forwards, but it's an awkward flash forwards, not in the middle of the enemy team. There's a mark pending and gone. And Bobo Destroyers, it's kind of hard to tell who looks a little bit worse for wear. You know, with the Thresh health bar kind of skewing my perception a little bit. So let's start taking inventory now. Are there any odd keystones? Are there any odd rune decisions? Any odd leveling things? Any odd Karthus deaths? No, because it's actually Lube Tech caught up. Metellus is traded back. Zed goes in with the death mark, going to trade on the T-Tizzle, but going to be killed as well. No! Sona actually able to turn it around. Pico dying in the middle of everybody. Daisy coming through. Daisy supporting the Requiem here. Lissandra will go down. That is a Sivir debt as well. Bobo Destroyers look primed to clean up this entire fight. Colin cannot fight back. Just a level 6 Kale. Getting the ultimate off, but not able to do anything more. Cassante is knocked back into turret by the Thresh. The hook only lands onto Daisy. XRM0 will survive, but looks like he's just trying to give over the shutdown to Thresh, trying to get the reset, trying to get some items. I keep saying he, when technically I don't know, but... just inexperienced caster things, you know? Either way, very good fight for Challenger ARAMers, but it only really translates to chip damage, right? Patella is almost unable to contribute to this fight on that HP. Hooked in, XRM0 trying to do something. T-Tizzle is traded back. Jinx is excited in the back end, but Karthus has been traded. The Q will land onto Sivir. 80 carry for 80 carry. Effectively, no, is Jinx contributing? Maybe with some range. Here's hoping. So it is a 1-for-2 in favor of Bobo Destroyers, and just as I was saying that the gold had been completely equalized, there is now a small 500 gold advantage on the side of Bobo Destroyers. Now that gold advantage is going to have to grow, right? We are going to keep emphasizing how much pressure they're under to deal with the scaling here, but they are dealing with it well with his initiation. Cassante Zed all together. Lissandra doing her best to hold people off, but Pico is directly on top of T-Tizzle. Torchwood gets the kill onto Sivir and trades it back right away. I call Worth. Kale knocked in by Cassante Q3. Ivern does find the catch. Is there any follow-up? A little bit. Colden taken very, very low. Sona is going to struggle to heal everybody back up, but at the same time, Pico no mana, Motella's no health. Pushing the advantage further, maybe hard. Hex gates back up. The death timers are so low. Lube Tech is in here trying to fight. Ivern flashes out, but it just lands onto the Cassante, who is going to flash out as well. I'm holding my breath. Pico is almost surely going to die, but I think the fight is clear enough for us to start talking about it. I'm curious to know if Cassante should have flash here, right? Because I think. I mean, well, we're not flashing out of that. And Cassante does have fewer flash combos than he used to in his current incarnation. Just want to watch a couple stray kills traded here and there. 1 for 2, 1 for 3. Oh, not that good for Bobo Destroyers, right? In the blink of an eye, we've got we've got a lot of turret damage available for Challenger ARAMers. Cool, couple hundred. But yeah, one thing that has been kind of underexplored over the course of this tournament is whether it is necessary to take flash, right? Because the strength of Mark arguably does everything you would need from Flash on certain champions, and I wonder if Cassante is one of them, which means Mark Exhaust is actually a pretty compelling option, right? Speaking of, Flashless, Cassante in, he's your initiator here, illustrating my point perfectly as Lissandra goes down. Zed trying to make a play, Deathmark onto Colden, but the kill ultimate comes out through. Lubtech trying to hold off several in the back end with the box, going to prevent any further dives, but Pico is taking a lot of damage. Overall, Bobo Destroyers look kind of poor in terms of health bars, but XRM0 is pushing for even more. He's trying to fight. He's supported by Ivern, rather. T-Tizzle back in here. Cassante is going to go down, going to go all out here, trading one kill, maybe. Yes, no! And it is 1 for 2 in this sequence, but Torchwig trades back right away. High Legacy trying to contribute with the shield. Metella's still able to hit, but not supported any further than by the Ivern shields. No playmaking agency here. Oh, the health bar is so low. Sivir. And it looks like Jinx is trying to rain Hellfire for as long as these death timers are ticking. Sona killed. Zed claims the shutdown. Metella's now running. High Legacy down. Lissandra double kill. Lissandra triple kill most likely with the Q. Cassante here. He is your savior. Pathmaker making a path inwards. Actually tanky enough to keep fighting here as long as Karthus can get in. But the mark only hits minions. Pico forced to flash inwards. T-Tizzle trying to go further. Will kill 2 here with this ultimate. Karthus is such a disgusting Tempo champion on this map. My goodness. Torchwig pulls Lubtech directly into the turret, which, just although he falls, trades back 1 for 1. Thresh for Zed. Kale approaching level 10. Trying to kite this out. Barely falling? Barely falling. Actually, so much utility. Now, if we can have like a lull in the meaningful action long enough to talk about a couple of items here and there is a Blade of the Runes King and the Riftmaker on Kale, which is pretty interesting. Now, I would assume that they're opting into that itemization to deal with the, Cassante, because, well, AP Kale's utility is not quite as strong, you know, healing reduced universally. Wow, that is a very, very forwardly positioned Jinx. So while, you know, AD and AP Kale DPS are very similar, Blade of the Ruined King is going to make a difference on the durable champions. Not got too much here. Hey, Cassante has died to Sivir. Torchwig is trying to kill T-Tizzle, going to use the Duskblade invulnerability. Pico gets in. There is a kill onto Sivir. Torchwig out almost. Colden is trying to slow the Zed, but it is a clean exit. Very good assassination from Torchwig, and we are seeing why the Zed has been chosen. Because Torchwig just seems to be competent on all these assassin picks. Sure enough, some degree of comfort shown here. Not really commenting. I'm actually surprised that XRM0 is committing this hard to try to get Metella's out of danger. Actually going in deeper, but the team is not in any condition to fight unless Torchwig can go crazy. Unless Pico decides to die as well. That is a mistake from XRM0. I'm also wondering when the Abyssal Mask is going to come in from Cassante, because we have seen, like, you know, the Frozen Heart is deemed important in this game. Clearly trying to target Sivir's wave clear a little bit and Kale's overall DPS as, you know, the primary problem. But eventually, as Kale continues to pivot her builds, like, it would be nice to have that tool to survive the endgame damage, to kind of bolster what Karthus is able to do from beyond the grave, right? Like, although Abyssal Mask is purchased primarily for just being the default armor or MR item, especially when everybody's clumped like this, when that's offering like roughly close to 90 MR, something like that, absurd values. The Shred is no slouch in a situation like this on a champion that plays at that range, that survives that long. But just overall scaling check, Kale at level 18, kind of 11. I have problems on the mind apparently. Pico is forced to flash out, which is huge for Karthus' playmaking opportunity. Torchwig is dead first. T-Tizzle is trying to kite backwards. Jinx ultimate is not going to kill anybody. The condition of Bobo Destroyers is very poor. Kitten Claw is trying to create an opportunity with the movement speed, but they are struggling to get any deeper here. Is there something more? Is Loop Tech finding anything? XRM0 actually trying to fight. Actually trying to pull people in. Kitten Claws is caught up here. Pathmaker forwards. No Q3. Karthus hooked. Matella's not supported. Mark comes through. The Karthus will kill 2, maybe 3. No, it is 2. Delayed with the lockets. But Challenger ARAMers may have a window here as long as Zed can't clean up their primary threats. Can Sivir free hit the turret here? Is Sona ultimate's down, Threshold is down, they are going for Zed. The CC is down, so Torchwood tries to make an opportunity, but no, the cooldown refund on Thresh Hook is too great. If Loop Tech can die before anything happens, that's huge. Arguably flashing for it is good, but marking for it would be crazy. Alas, that is not to be. Loop Tech is going to die and give over a shutdown. Is going to trade the Sivir, but with the wave in a decent position, maybe Jinx Excitement can actually translate into a little bit, but, you know, Kayle, Lissandra playing defense, I doubt it. That is a very, very good sequence overall for Challenger ARAMers. Lissandra's actually making a play. This is early. Trying to use Kayle ultimate, forced to burn the flash. That is a tremendous waste of resources. Lissandra's actually in huge danger. T-Tizzle blunders. And now, Sivir is alive, but cannot safely take this Hexgate. So, unless, Loop Tech is the one who takes it. XM0 forwards, Kayle barely alive. The turret does fall. That is absolutely catastrophic for Cram. Now, hopefully, Sivir can just be the turret. We have Sivir online. We have Kayle's waves, right? We have a spoiler to the game popping up on my screen. You know, it occurs to me that I should have kept my mouth shut when that happened to me. Alright, chat, you will remember nothing I've said in the past 30 seconds. Ooh. Where are we in terms of items? That Abyssal Mask is, in fact, coming through. Karthus is dangerously close to a death cap. Bobo Destroyers. If Karthus has one more good death, just finds a Requiem from base, could spell disaster for Challenger ARAMers with no MR to speak of on some of their primary carries. Kayle is actually going deeper into the physical direction. There's what's happening here? There is a triple NLR in Lissandra's inventory. Really interested to hear the reasoning of 2 incomplete items. Like, there's a Shadow Flame and a Death Cap, but most likely similar to BF Swords. Like, if you can afford it, you may as well grab it. Torchwick is hooked. Pulls Loop Tech deep into everybody. Fresh forced to flash out. Pico trying to buy some time. Is going to find the Requiem here. This may be the end of the game, everybody. XM0 is pushing forwards all out. Rooted here. Matella's is getting chunked, but there's no further follow-up. Lissandra is down. Jinx is excited. That's 3. That's 4. There's the 5th kill available. Only Sona left to defend, but Jinx is far too excited. There is no way Sona can defend against this many excited stacks. This might be it, everybody. Kayle up in 9 seconds. Can Bobo Destroyers end the game? 4, 3, 2. There's no chance. As long as they focus this Nexus here, that is a clean 2-0 from Bobo Destroyers. And no! Bobo! Oh no, they forget to end the game. It's disaster! I mean, the silver lining for them is they are still, like, grossly strong with this Karthus Death Cap completion. They still have all of the tempo because Challenger ARAMers has to get the wave, like, all the way through the map. Still has to punch through a tier 2. Still has to punch through an inhibitor. The comeback potential is still very, very low. Though, you know, who's to say? 1 level from flipping Kayle? No, she's on level 16. She has the range. Is it enough? Whose game is this? Bobo Destroyers may have snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Karthus is hooked in here, but Cassante already making a play here. T-Tizzle dead instantaneously before the system can come out. Daisy running them down. There's more and more. Pico in the middle, dying in the middle. No Requiem available, no more damage available from them, but Matella's is forwards, Matella's is supported. Jinx Rocket is in, no mark will land. Challenger ARAMers have to flee, run for the hills. The Nexus is on 2 HP. It looks like a one-wave, one and done. They don't even have to interact with the champions, but they will. Torchwood going for the Sivir, the Death Mark. Can it be blocked? The Spell Shield, nothing here. And Kayle trades 1 back. That is the end of the game, ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between. Bobo Destroyers go up 2-0 to close the regular season as your undisputed first seed in Group B. So congratulations to them. That's a little unfortunate. These two teams were definitely top of the standings, and I was really, really hoping to see a super back and forth series between them. It was very, very cool to see, you know, some actual freezing in play in game one here. I'm just gonna go ahead and bring my face back on screen with the only the only scene that I have for this, so please excuse that. But yeah, clean 2-0 there. So how do we send this off? Let's check in here. I am going to share with you guys the current situation that we're in so we can kind of look at which of our teams will qualify for playoffs. So, well, okay, Group B is solved already, right? It was always going to be Challenger ARAMers, Bobo Destroyers, Dirty Mike and the Boys, and Divine Ascension Obsidian, because Brad Bolster Gaming was just mathematically eliminated a long time ago, and we have two teams who have dropped out giving buys. So, simply put, you know, Group B was kind of solved. We were just waiting to see who was going to come out on top, right? And now in the Group A department, it looks like, I mean, Technique Esports and Akuma Katanas are guaranteed, like, locked. They are for sure in playoffs. So that brings us to Reapers, Wolves, and Thick Gragas Monsters, who are, at the beginning of the day, 4-2, 3-3, and 2-4, respectively. You know what? Let's actually go ahead and, I'm clicking all these buttons, forgetting that I'm not in studio mode. But yeah, these are the current standings in Group A. The Group B was, you know, slightly off. It was 6-0 on both of those teams. What has happened on the day to some of these teams here? Let's see which matches have been reported. So the Reapers have lost their series to Thick Gragas Monsters, which is, they're left at 4-3. TGM is 3-4. So ultimately what happens with Wolves is very, 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 very important. But alas, Wolves has actually won their series, leaving 4-3 Reapers, 4-3 Wolves, and 3-4 TGM, which barely keeps them out of playoffs contention, which is super unfortunate. I mean, the good news is there are no tiebreakers for us to really deal with right now. But I really shouldn't. I'm sitting here talking about, like, hey, look, I have less logistical work to do. But yeah, so very, very sorry to the teams who did not qualify. Thick Gragas Monsters, TCS, Flannel Esports Frostbite, and Brad Bolster Gaming. Thank you for your runs. I hope you enjoyed the season, and I hope you look forward to the next iteration of the VAS, hopefully with a couple of format improvements that we are planning in the back end. So let's move on to the playoffs format a little bit to try to chart out what's going to be happening, and I apologize that I'm not going to have the graphics really, unless I just kind of cheated a little bit. Hey. What if I just put together a random scene on the fly? Beautiful. Okay, so no special graphics here, but this is our master sheet. How the playoffs work, of course, top 4 of each group advance to playoffs. The quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals are all best of 5. So we are moving finally into, honestly, the format that we should have been in from the start. Best of 5 ARAMs, which last roughly the time of best of 3 Summoner's Rift. And that's going to be really exciting, because it's going to be cool to see how, you know, if teams just have a particularly bad draw that they can't play in one of their games, there's definitely going to be more comeback potential throughout a series. There's going to be more avenues to strategize. There's going to be more excitement as a whole, right? I'm not going to click this playoff bracket because it's like extreme. Is it aged? No, we're ready for it. So presumably, I mean, I'm the one who wrote the rulebook, so I just have to remember this. Because of the 2 groups, it should be, yeah, there's no choice in who plays who. So we are now that Challenger ARAMers have locked first in Group B, we are going to see them compete against either Reapers or Wolves, depending on who won the head-to-head. And if I just look through there, I can find that information very quickly. It is Reapers who claimed 3rd seed. So the Wolves are 4th seed, so we're going to see Challenger ARAMers face off against the Wolves, our only draft team in the league, right? And the quarterfinals pool will just populate, as expected. No special things you guys haven't seen before. It is a basic single elimination best of 5 bracket. So with that, now that we've checked in on our other teams, now that we've congratulated Bobo Destroyers on the win, I believe that is all that we have to talk about tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in to the final week of the regular season. And I hope you guys stay up to date on what's going on moving into playoffs. So thank you so much. I've been Quintic. This has been a weird, fun experiment, like just doing the solo casts, but best wishes to our usual production team. Hope they recover from their illnesses and their various spontaneous commitments. Because this was challenging. But all right. Love yourselves. Respect each other. I will see you all next time. Take care, everyone. It occurs to me that I've been saying Challenger ARAMers locked in first while talking about how Bobo Destroyers just won 2-0. That is some questionable brain power on my end. I am so sorry to Bobo. Yeah, Pico, nothing would have gone wrong on the back end, I promise you there, but... Oh...